A good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If we may please take our seats. Thank you so much, everyone, for being able to make it and make it on time. I want to welcome into the room Dr. Gladys Kalema-Zikusoka, who is the reason for why we're all here. And maybe we'll give her a round of applause for making it thus far. My name is Raymond Mujini, and my job today is to get us through our program. So I'll just take us through our program today so that we see how it looks like. Immediately after this, we'll have our national anthems and a prayer, which will be given to us by Jackie Asimwe. And then we will have a couple of speeches from 5 representatives. And after that, we'll have a conversation with the author that will be led by the Bump Love crew. And then we'll have a short musical interlude. Our guest of honor will speak to us, who's the US ambassador. And then we will have the official launch of the book, and copies of the book are at the back. And our author will sign those copies for us, and we'll take photos with her, and we'll be out of this room, preferably by midday. And I hope that that can happen. So without much further ado, I will ask you to stand up so that we can have our national anthems, and also invite Jackie Asimwe to pray for us after those national anthems.
Let us pray. Father God, this is the day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. We are grateful to be here today to celebrate the wonderful things that you have done through your daughter Gladys, to celebrate the communities she has touched, the lives she has touched, the ecosystem that she has touched, she along with her family and all she has worked with. We are honored to be here, honored to celebrate this, honored to be reminded that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. May this keep us truly humble and aware of our responsibility to the earth. In your name we have prayed. Amen.
You may please take your seats. Sorry to keep you standing. And thank you so much, Jackie, for the prayer. So to start us off on our program, I would ask that we play us the Ashoka video. Our author today is a fellow from Ashoka, and Irene Mutumba, who represents those fellows, will be speaking to us immediately after that video plays. So if you fix your eyes to the screen so that we can watch that video and then get into the speech. I'll now ask Irene Mutumba if you could please come. A round of applause for her. She makes her way to the front. She'll speak on behalf of the Ashoka Fellows.
Good morning, everyone. Other guests of honor and all the dignitaries here from both the public and private sector and family. It's a pleasure for me to be here to speak on behalf of Ashoka for Gladys. I am Irene Mutumba. I'm an Ashoka Fellow, and I bring greetings from Ashoka, the global office in Virginia, Washington, and the Ashoka Africa and Ashoka East Africa in particular, for the fellows and others who couldn't be here today to celebrate Gladys. First and foremost, I want to mention that I'm a teacher, but also I was fortunate enough to be part of the International Visitor Program sponsored by the United States Information Department, and that was September 2000, so many years ago. And the theme that year was African Women, Emerging Economic Force. So I was one of the two ladies from Uganda that participated in the program. And from that time, after visiting all those states in the US for a month and being hosted by so many women entrepreneurs, I came back with a spark. I was, energized to support and mentor and train other women entrepreneurs. So I was fortunate enough that I'm also a member of the family. I had heard about the good things that the Kalemas had done. So on a flight, I bumped into Gladys. And when she told me about her idea, I said, wow, this is wonderful. This is an Ashoka kind of person that we need to get into the network. More so because she was a woman, a veterinary doctor, but also, in this space, trying to merge work in public health and conservation. So I nominated Ashoka to the network, and she emerged as one of those unique ladies that are trailblazers in the whole world. And we are happy to have Gladys, as part of Ashoka. And we celebrate you. We do really celebrate you. So with that spark, I said, let me push it to Gladys. So I was happy to be part of her board as a board chair for about 5 years. And within that, she was very passionate. This is a young lady who we see has started off with a passion, a career, and now she's transforming communities and the whole global village through her work through CPT, conservation through public health. So briefly, Ashoka is a global organization that searches leading social entrepreneurs around the world through an intensive human-centered process, selecting them into the global network as trusted fellowship peers. In the whole of the world, we have about 4,000 Ashoka Fellows in about 90 countries, and we are 26 in Uganda, representing different sectors. Education, mine is education and learning, others civic rights, others like Gladys in conservation, different sectors. But what I can say is social entrepreneurship is kind of a new, a new sector. I mean, not many people know about the kind of work that social entrepreneurs are doing in society. And I could say maybe they're unsung heroes, but today I think we see a notable one before us and having documented her work. So Ashoka takes you through like 5 robust but grueling processes. There's the nomination, there's the first opinion, second opinion, then the panel, and then the board review. That whole process can take a year. I think for me it was a year and some months. So it is not a very easy process to go through. And, but the criteria is that you need to have a new idea, that you're reforming. It's not just a copy and paste, a replication of what has already been done. You need to have a new idea, and you should be possessed with that idea for a new solution to a social problem. As you all know that, as the world develops, as the world grows, the kind of issues that are coming through in terms of challenges in our communities, I don't think there's a government or private sector that can solve all these issues. So that's where we as social entrepreneurs come in, to bridge the gap, to make sure that we can harness and co-create with both the private sector, government, and communities to get these solutions forward. And you need to show that you are creative. It's not just, it doesn't just appear, it has to be shown in your path. And you need to have the entrepreneurial quality. And I think Gladys has this, if you read her book and her path, I think she has that. And the idea must have a social impact. And the ethical fiber is very important for us if we are to get an Ashoka Fellow on board. So I just want to conclude by saying that we see Gladys as one of those women, social entrepreneurs that we are looking for today. You can see how her idea has disrupted our systems. She had a passion. She, became a veterinary doctor. She's now a social entrepreneur. She did not leave her research in the lab. She brought it out in the communities in Windi. And while we're at the board, we are saying, okay, what should we do to make sure that the communities actually buy into the whole idea? And I was happy to have her husband, Lawrence, on board, because we were the 2 social entrepreneurs on that board. Gladys was into her vet work. So we also came up with ideas, of course, as I mentioned, with that spark I came with from the US. And we said, how can we make sure that communities are socially and economically empowered? And I think through her book, you can see this. There's so many enterprises that have come through a CTPH. I don't know whether you have tasted the coffee, the gorilla coffee. If you haven't, please buy yourself something like that. But I would urge you to buy the book, maybe for your families, for schools, if you have schools, because everything is in there. And you might not be, for me, I started off in some section at the back. So you can actually start off from anywhere and still pick something, because we see Gladys as a role model for our young women and, of course, men. She has persisted. She has, marketed, the whole of you. Everyone who comes, I meet on a plane, I'm saying, okay, where are you going? I'm going to Windi. Do you know Gladys? Yes, I know Gladys. So everyone is coming to Windi because of Gladys. Last month, I met some conservationists from Rwanda, and they were still talking about Gladys and how she has inspired them. because of, I think also in Burundi, in Rwanda, there are gorillas. So as young women, we have a role model here in front of us who can inspire, who can support, and because this is looked to be a male-dominated sector, but look how she has transformed things within that public-private partnership model, the wildlife, the communities, and of course the global village. I want to end by saying that in Ashoka, we have so many programs. Part of it is the Ashokitos. We've had all our children being part of that program, and Gladys has, her kids are also social entrepreneurs, mine are social entrepreneurs. So if you want your kids, your home, your organization, your school, we can inspire. And I think Gladys may not be able to go everywhere, but I think we can bring her on through Zoom or other spaces. But I think, Gladys, we celebrate you. You inspired me as a woman. I was one of those that really had this negative mindset about animals. I think the people around here know about that. Like animals, no, that's a no area. But she managed to change my attitude and mindset, and also appreciate. And being a high school geography teacher, I think you gave me some things now that I wish I had long time ago. Conservation, nature, and public health. So thank you so much. I could go on, but we celebrate you. Thank you all for coming here and supporting her, and we wish her the best. And in Ashoka, we say, everyone a change maker. We are the innovators for the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Irene, and for that very moving remarks about Dr. Gladys. You know, you spoke about Dr. Gladys and her passion. I was lucky to read the book before most of you have done, so I know a few things about her passion. So Dr. Gladys in her early years was at Chiburi School, and she traveled to Kenya, to the Kenya Wildlife Service, and found stickers there. The stickers cost a huge sum of money. And Dr. Gladys, wise as she was, asked her mother, Rhoda Kalema, to loan her money for those stickers so that she could give them to the school. And in the book, she writes that she got the loan. I hope that today I can collect on behalf of Rhoda Kalema that money that you got for the stickers. So thank you so much for being very passionate to the extent of borrowing money to buy stickers to inspire young people in a wildlife club. I want to invite now Volcanoes to the front, and Mr. Kevin James will speak on behalf of Volcanoes. But before he comes, we'll watch a very small video about Volcanoes so that we understand who they are, and then we'll have Mr. Kevin James speak to us.
These gorillas have been there forever, but so have been the Batwa. We cannot just have parks that look after wildlife. Somehow they must look after communities. This, I think, is a very important way of recognizing that humans also matter in the conservation chain. We have to balance what we do for the communities, because if they're not going to benefit from the gorillas, from the forest, they have no reason to support it. Habitats are small, populations are increasing, so I think we all need to think carefully about the paradigm. Are we just going to let them disappear? Are we going to just let the forest disappear? Or are we going to make sure that for posterity, we have this legacy?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Kevin James, and I'm the CEO of Volcano Safaris. We have 4 lodges in Uganda and Rwanda around the gorilla and chimpanzee parks. It is a special pleasure to be here today and to be able to join in the celebration of this wonderful new book from Dr. Gladys, and to congratulate Gladys on her work as a vet, a conservationist, and a champion of gorillas. Volcano Safaris and Gladys have been long-term partners in Bwindi, working together to protect the endangered mountain gorillas. Last year, Volcano Safaris celebrated our own 25th anniversary by holding a conservation retreat at Mount Gahinga Lodge in Kisoro. An advocacy group called the Albertine Apes was set up, of which Gladys and Conservation Through Public Health are now key members. We should all congratulate Gladys for her outstanding vision and courage and determination to continue with her gorilla conservation work despite the many challenges she and her colleagues have faced. Gladys has created a unique career based on her love of wildlife. Gladys has quite rightly received global recognition of her work, and she has collected many awards along the way. At an event at the British residence in Kampala last year, Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, was the guest of honor. I was stood next to Gladys when the princess and her entourage came over. I was somehow surprised that Princess Anne seemed to be an old friend of Dr. Gladys. I later learned that some years ago, Gladys had been awarded a conservation award for her outstanding leadership in London, which had been presented to her by the princess. The work of Volcano Safaris and Conservation Through Public Health and Gladys share a common philosophy. This can be summarized in 3 short messages. Firstly, we both believe in working in transparent and collaborative partnerships with various stakeholders in an integrated way. Second, if you reduce poverty and aim to improve the health of the local people and communities around the gorilla parks, the wildlife as well as the people will benefit. And thirdly, the education and advocacy of gorilla conservation are key. The future of the gorillas and their habitats is in the hands of the next generation of young people living near the parks. Dr. Gladys is an inspiration for many. Her new book is a wonderful memoir of a fantastic lady with an amazing story. I know this book will help to tell the world what a talented and dedicated person Gladys is. Volcano Safaris is proud to help promote this book and to tell Gladys' story. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you so much for keeping it a very brief speech. I will riddle you with as much stories of the book so that I compel you to buy it. So I'll tell you another story about Dr. Gladys. When she became a vet doctor, there was a translocation for elephants from Nairobi to Uganda. So Dr. Gladys was sent there as the only representative from Uganda to oversee and learn from it so that she could implement that in Uganda. An elephant, for understanding sake, is 6,000 kilograms. Those of you that farm cows, that is about 16 cows worth of weight. And the elephant was sedated, and Dr. Gladys was given the medicine to wake up the elephant, not to sedate it. And the people that were with Dr. Gladys that sedated the elephant left her with the elephant and told her, you know, this elephant, it will get up in about 10, 15 minutes, worst case scenario, 30 minutes. So as Dr. Gladys is seated waiting for the people that were sedating other elephants to come back, the elephant gets up in 8 minutes. And the nearest sedative is about a small walk or run away from where she was. And the courageous Dr. Gladys first looks at the elephant and decides maybe it's time to part its ears and see if it can sleep again. But someone close to her says, I'll hold down this elephant so you run and get the sedative. And ladies and gentlemen, had Dr. Gladys not run that day to pick the sedative and sedate the elephant again, we probably wouldn't be having this book launch. So thank you so much for being such a courageous person. The next person to speak to us is from Total Energies, and it's the general manager. Felipe, you'll forgive me because I can't pronounce the second name. I'll have to massacre it for me to pronounce it. But we'll watch a very short video about Total Energies and then you'll speak to us. So please, the floor is now yours.
Budongo and Bugoma forests were interlinked. Through the different small patches of forest, wildlife used to move from Budongo to Bugoma and Bugoma to Budongo. And where they were passing, there were small patches of forest that would link the two forests. However, over the years, these forests, they are heavily degraded to an extent that they're either people's homes or they're people's gardens.
So today we are here with EcoTrust, that's the Environment Conservation Trust of Uganda. They're currently doing a tree planting project, which is part of EcoTrust's corridor restoration project. So our aim here as Total Energies, it's a commitment that's under our Tilenga Biodiversity Programme. We are looking to restore around 1,000 hectares of forest corridor. So that's forest that has been lost and it's outside of protected areas at the moment.
Forest corridor restoration is very key for conservation of chimpanzees within Budongo landscape. It will allow chimpanzees to utilize the resources held at the defined forest blocks. It will allow free movement of chimpanzee between one forest and another, and it will also help us solve the outstanding conflict between chimpanzee and humans within the landscape.
So Total Energies has launched a project with EcoTrust. It's a 12-month pilot project. So we will be supplying around 150,000 tree seedlings to communities for the corridor restoration project.
So EcoTrust facilitated the formation of 10 CLOAs. Those are the communal land associations in Masindi here. And 9 of these CLOAs are in Budongo sub-county, and then 1 of them is in Pakani sub-county. These groups are working to conserve the forests, the riverine forests that are within their communities, communally.
In the first lot, we received 15,000 seedlings mixed. We have 4 types of seedlings given by EcoTrust.
We want to restore our forest as it was before. The children we are going to produce, we need them to see our forest and see the animals which are in our forest.
For today, we are here with the community doing restoration to restore this degraded part. So as a district, we are always very grateful for the community and then to the funding partners.
So we shall never come back and destroy the forest again. We have joined. Thank you for your support.
Guest of honor, the US Ambassador to Uganda, Your Excellency French Ambassador to Uganda, Member of Parliament present, government institution, private sector, conservation and tourism institution, good morning all. My name is Philippe Grouex, I'm the General Manager of Total Energy EP Uganda, in charge of helping government to develop the oil resources in the Albertine Graben region. First, it's a great pleasure for me to be here with you today as we join Dr. Gladys in the launch of her memoir, Working with Gorillas. Let me introduce some of my team present here with Mariam Nampera Bowa, Deputy General Manager of Total Energy EP Uganda, and Pauline McRonald, Biodiversity Director. First of all, on a very personal point of view, I'm very honored to meet Dr. Gladys, as you work in direct continuation of the pioneering women who have inspired so many people, including myself, of course, in their fight for preservation of great apes. I, of course, refer to Jane Goodall for the chimps, Diane Fossey for the gorillas, and Birute Jaldikas for orang-outan. Unfortunately, the fight is not over, as the human pressure on their habitat keeps increasing. Dr. Gladys, as the first wildlife Ugandan veterinarian engaged in gorilla preservation, you continue their heritage and of this inspiring woman. And by doing so, you pave the way for future generations of female conservationists in Uganda and across the African continent. Preserving our natural world, protecting its wildlife, helping community to coexist in harmony with nature is one of our biggest challenges of our time, and it's a shared responsibility. As Dr. Gladys says, today we realize how wildlife, human, and ecosystem are all very interconnected. At Total Energy EP Uganda, conservation and community development are cornerstone activities of our project. And these are undertaken through the company's various biodiversity and social development programs. The company has committed to achieving long-lasting positive outcomes for wildlife and communities in our area of operations, which is the North Albertine Rift region. And we work very closely with Uganda Wildlife Authority, National Forestry Authority, and conservation organization, as well as providing support to community living around them. One particular, as you have seen on this short video, one particular pillar of our action is dedicated to conserving and restoring forest and forest connectivity of the Budongo-Bugoma forest, which has been largely fragmented. Restoring corridors of forest is essential for the survival of the chimps groups living in the area. I personally share a passion for the rich and diverse wildlife and landscape of Uganda. I had the chance to live 7 years in Gabon and spend a lot of time in the primary forest over there. And as well, I spent some years, 4 years, in Borneo Island in Indonesia, where I had a chance also to approach orang-outan. So I can only admire Dr. Gladys' work with conservation through public health in their mission to promote biodiversity conservation. In conclusion, it's really our great pleasure for Total Energy EP Uganda to get a chance to recognize and appreciate the significant efforts made by organizations and individuals such as Dr. Gladys and CPTH. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Felipe, for that speech, and thank you so much also for the work that Total Energies ENP Uganda does in conservation and biodiversity, particularly around Tilenga. I see she's smiling because I was in Tilenga just a few days ago. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me invite Ms. Catherine Adengo from the Stanbic Bank. Kathy is my friend, I must start there, but she's the head of sustainability at Stanbic Bank, and she'll speak to us very briefly too. So first a video, and then she'll speak to us.
In our people, we believe in their health, their wealth, their dreams, their businesses, and their future. This is why we believe in sustainability and through the pillars of social impact, the economy, financial inclusion, a greener future, youth centricity, diversity, and women. We intend to make progress and impact lives positively at all levels. through our business incubator, SACCO initiative, Stanbic graduate program, participation in Taso Mtonde and running out of trees, Stanbic for Her, and National Schools Championship. We as Stanbic Uganda remain committed to the growth and development of all. We believe in Uganda.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you all. I'm Kathy Odengo, Head of Sustainability for Stanbic Uganda. Your Excellency the Ambassador, honorable ministers and government representatives present, development partners, civil society, private sector partners, the media, all protocol observed. A very good morning. On behalf of Stanbic Bank, it gives me such great pleasure to be here today as we honor an exemplary lady, Dr. Gladys, who has been an inspiration to so many Ugandans, especially even me as a woman, seeing her rise and keep rising in an area of conservation that is quite critical to our nation. She continues to rise and put our flag high, globally, regionally, globally, and locally, and we want to continue to inspire, to support her efforts as we see her work come to fruition. Congratulations on this book. We will continue to make sure that it is seen and publicized for everyone, especially students, young, talented students who are looking to aspire and be just like you, Gladys. We have a very strong education program on wildlife and conservation and environmental protection, and we're quite keen to see how we can partner to make sure that a lot of young, talented students can get to understand the importance of the kind of work Gladys is doing on wildlife protection. You are a beacon of light in terms of inspiring women and women in leadership in your role. We want to continue because Stanbic Bank is very keen on women empowerment, and you will remain a role model, somebody will continue to partner with to ensure that this is something strong we uphold. Stanbic Bank is very passionate about wildlife and environmental protection because it is a critical pillar of our sustainability strategy. We are very keen to ensure that we're working closely with government, especially through the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism, not only to continue investments in tourism, but also investments in wildlife protection and conservation. We've been partnering with the Tourism Board, and we thank you so much, especially for businesses and entrepreneurs who are in this space, so that we can promote local tourism. It is something where we haven't seen a lot of Ugandans embrace their local tourism. It's now only picking up, but we want to continue to inspire entrepreneurs who are in this space to grow our tourism sector and continue to promote Uganda globally. We also want to ensure that we're promoting education of gorilla conservation and preservation and protection in various realms. And what our call is today is to partner with development partners in the private sector to enhance the efforts that you have seen Dr. Gladys do. And we would like to therefore conclude, I'd just like to conclude by applauding all your efforts and thanking you so much for what you have been able to achieve thus far. Stanbic remains committed to protecting the environment, and we thank you so much for all that you have done and partnered with the various partners who have brought this to the fore. So with that summary, I thank you and have a very good morning. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I'd like to recognize the presence of Mama Rhoda Kalema, who is the mother to our author, and Dr. Gladys. Thank you so much for gracing our occasion today. Ladies and gentlemen, before you on your tables has been a generous donation made for coffee. Please have a look at that coffee that's been presented on your table so that when you next go to buy coffee, you just buy that very specific brand. And it also represents chapter 25 of the book that's been written for us by Dr. Gladys on why coffee is a sustainable way towards conservation. But now allow me invite Mr. James Musinguzi, Dr. James Musinguzi, who is the CEO of the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. But first a video, and then Dr. James will speak to us.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Our guest of honor this morning, the American Ambassador to Uganda, Natalie Brown, the French Ambassador to Uganda, all dignitaries, protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. James Msinguzi, and I'm the Executive Director of the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center in Entebbe, popularly known as Entebbe Zoo, but I'm also the board chair of the Chimpanzee Trust, and so I'm here to speak about Gladys in both capacities. I met Gladys in September 2003 when she was launching Conservation Through Public Health at the inaugural workshop at Ruhija in Windi, where I was privileged to be part of this great workshop that was advancing a great cause, the interconnectedness between people, animals, plants, and the environment in order to bring out the connectivity. When she was starting her work as Conservation Through Public Health, to bring out these ideals of supporting livelihoods, health, education of communities so that we can coexist. We need to clap Gladys for this initiative, ladies and gentlemen. In conservation, we can do everything, but as long as we don't empower the communities in terms of livelihoods, health, education, we are wasting time. And so for Gladys to team up with the various authorities, including the communities, the Wildlife Authority, to be able to emancipate and empower the communities is a very, very great initiative that is helping to conserve wildlife. Also, Gladys was a board member at the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, where she helped us to shape policy in terms of wildlife conservation education in Uganda, but also empowering the girl child. And as a matter of fact, we increased internship opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, volunteer opportunities for the girl child. And as I speak today, the majority of our employees at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center are actually ladies working with animals. You'll find ladies heading the carts, the herbivores, driving tractors. Thanks to Gladys for your inspiration and shaping the policy. Gladys has trained vets, very many of them, including some of the heads of the institutions, like our executive director now at Ngamba Island, was actually trained by Gladys. Thank you for the support and capacity building. This is very, very appreciated. Thank you for the inspiration that you've given to ladies to participate in wildlife conservation and management. And of course, as I conclude, I want to remind the audience, ladies and gentlemen, that as we are now, we have a global population of about 8 billion. In 2030, it will be about 8.5. And 2050 is estimated to be about 9.7 billion global population. What are you doing as an individual in terms of contributing to positive conservation action? At your smallest, minute level, Gladys has written this book, which is a great inspiration, which brings out very good tenets of life: perseverance, passion, overcoming stereotypes. I was reading about your first experience at North Carolina, how you overcame the stereotypes that awaited you, and you insisted on your passion, on sense of purpose, because you knew what you wanted. So this book is very critical in bringing out and shaping the narrative and inspiring upcoming people to really stick to what they want, because they can overcome all the obstacles. So please, I call upon everybody that following the initiative that Gladys has taken to write this book, let's do something at a personal level for conservation. If you're celebrating your birthday, can you grow a tree and you see it grow to its maturity? Can we have some backyard garden behind our homes by having tomatoes, that we can contribute to the greening of our environment at our personal level? I want to thank you very much and congratulate Gladys again. I want to thank Lawrence. Thank you for supporting Gladys. We need to clap Lawrence. Yes. because you've been very, very supportive, and it's not very, very common. When we see you supporting her, we really appreciate and applaud you. I thank you very much. Congratulations, Gladys. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for inspiring the girl child and the generation today to follow into your footsteps. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much, James, for that moving speech. Again, Dr. Gladys's first day at the job then was with national parks, the Uganda National Parks, what it was called then. She got the job in December and was asked to show up in January. Someone hadn't briefed her about the Ugandan working culture in January. So on January the 2nd at 8 a.m., Dr. Gladys showed up at work and found just the askari that day, who opened for her the door and said, please walk in. Dr. Gladys, I'd like to tell you, in Uganda, work doesn't begin until January 10th. People enjoy their holiday. But that is one of the more humorous takes from Dr. Gladys's first job at the national parks. I now want to invite Dr. Lily Ajarova, who is from the Uganda Tourism Board. A lot of this would not have been possible without tourism and conservation. So we'll watch a very small video, and then we will have Dr. Lily Ajarova speak to us. Thank you.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Dr. Gladys Kalema, the American ambassador, Natalie Brown, the French ambassador, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Lilia Jarova is my name, the Chief Executive Officer at Uganda Tourism Board. It's a wonderful day to be here this morning for this occasion. First, I would like to bring apologies from my chairman of the board, Honorable Daudi Migereko, who really wanted to be here. And he said, I must convey his apology to you, Gladys, and everyone. We come from very far, 1996 with Gladys. We share so much, and we speak often, and we continue to inspire each other, and it's an honor to be here today to say one or two things. First, to congratulate you for writing the book, We talked about it many times, and I feel so excited that it has come to fruition. And to thank Mama Rhoda Kalema. You have been an inspiration to all of us. I'm sure Gladys got that from you as well, as many. And of course, the family, Lawrence, the children, you have been there. I personally know how much you have been there to make this all happen, for her to have this book written, and for us to be here today. And to thank everyone else for being here. Two things I would want to speak to. We saw the small video, the 2 minutes video, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, which is a refreshed brand for Destination Uganda. It was launched last year in January 2022. And just to say a couple of things about the Destination brand. Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is the refreshed destination brand for Uganda. And to explain it, explore is really a call to action for each and every one. And that is trying to as well redefine the market for destination. We are calling on people to come to Uganda, or for the Ugandans, not just to visit places within the country, but to explore it, because we have a lot. When you visit, it's for a short time. We're saying you should explore. When you explore, you spend more time in one particular place. And Uganda has so much to offer. And of course, our value proposition in the brand is the Pearl of Africa. We all know that the pearl is a gemstone with the characteristics of being rare, beautiful, and precious. And we have so much in this country that speaks to those three characteristics. So Uganda has the depth, the range, and variety that the continent of Africa has. So don't call yourself tourists, call yourself travelers by beginning to explore Uganda as Ugandans, and also call upon all the non-Ugandans to come and explore what Uganda has to offer. Gladys, to speak to your contribution to tourism development and marketing. One, our premium product is the gorilla tourism. We all know that. And you have made a tremendous contribution. I remember in 1996 when we were working together in Uganda Wildlife Authority, setting the standards right from the beginning, setting the standards of how the tourists had to behave and the distance they had to keep, and so many others in protection of the gorillas and the whole ecosystem, is something that you made a big contribution to, besides making sure that you did your vet work to treat when they were sick. I remember the Nkuringo scabies case. So many, I could cite so many other cases, that you worked on to ensure that the gorillas continued to survive. Beyond that, there has been so much that you have created as tourism products. Besides the gorillas, the work that you're doing with conservation through public health in itself is a tourism product. I know that there are people who are coming in this country because of that work that you're doing with the communities. The gorilla, the coffee is another product, and I could go on and on. Your contribution towards product development in tourism in Uganda is something that we appreciate you for. We recognize your contribution for that. Dr. Gladys Kalema is a brand. You are a brand, Gladys. You're well recognized nationally and internationally. And the brand, Dr. Gladys Kalema, is a sub-brand of Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. And you have been one of the great ambassadors of Uganda. You have sold Uganda. You have promoted and marketed Uganda, I think, more than so many others. I am not ashamed to say, to some extent, even more than institutions who would be responsible to do more, but you have done more. So thank you, and your brand is definitely selling Uganda, and the book is an addition to that. This publication is telling a story, not just about the gorillas, it is about your life, it's about so many things, and that in itself is another product that you have created for Uganda. Working with the gorillas on the shelves in the US, in Europe, all over the place, is a product for Uganda. So that is the kind of contribution that you have made for tourism in Uganda. We can't thank you enough. In Uganda Wildlife, from Uganda Tourism Board, we just want to say you have done us so proud. We are very excited about all the achievements you have made. You continue to inspire us, and thank you for doing the big part of the job in promoting Uganda as a tourist destination. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to encourage each and every one of us to buy the book. Don't just be here and celebrate Gladys for publishing the book, but buy the book, use it as gifts, presents for birthdays, anniversaries, whatever it is. That's the only way that we would be supporting the work of Gladys. Thank you very much, and have a great morning.
Thank you so much, Lily, for that. And she said you should buy the book. I also insist, buy and read the book. It's important. It's very, very important to read the book. Ladies and gentlemen, we're halfway our program now, so I want to invite the team from BampLab to come up to the front. This is a very prized moment in Dr. Gladys's author's life. And also invite Dr. Gladys to the front. And as she comes, I want to ask the room, please, if you can stand with me and give her a standing ovation for writing such an amazing book. So, Dr. Gladys, please. Thank you so much for writing such an amazing book. But you'll please come to the front. So I am not worthy to speak about the book, in which case I'll ask you to sit down and watch a video from Jane Goodall, who I think is the most worthy person in this to make the forward for us. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll now hand over to the BampLab team.
Walking with Gorillas is the story of a very remarkable woman. I first met Gladys when she came to one of my lectures in London in 1993, and we had the opportunity to talk, albeit briefly, afterward. It was immediately apparent that there was something special about this vibrant Ugandan woman. A sense of purpose and love for her work was strikingly apparent. After that first meeting, we crossed paths from time to time, and I followed her career with increasing interest. In some ways, her trajectory was not unlike my own, but hers was a more difficult path. She had been interested in animals from an early age and was even teased by her schoolmates for believing that animals were sentient beings. Most Ugandans were very like the professors at Cambridge University who told me in 1962 that the chimpanzees I was studying should be numbered and not named, and that only humans had personalities, minds capable of problem solving, and above all, emotions such as contentment, sadness, frustration, anger, and grief. Luckily, I knew this was not true. I'd had a wonderful teacher as a child, my dog Rusty. I recommend this book to everyone interested in conservation, alleviating poverty, and the role of women in society. But perhaps most importantly, it is a truly inspiring story of how one determined and dedicated woman overcame many setbacks and faced many dangers to follow and realize her dream.
You might want to turn on your mic. Great. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's our absolute honor to share the stage with you, Dr. Gladys. Thank you. We bring greetings from the Bumplove community. Bumplove is a community of moms and women. We celebrate motherhood and inspire each other in our achievements as mothers. And so it's our absolute honor to be moderating this conversation. My name is Rachel Mwine.
Kemi Omeke.
Yes. Okay, so we'll jump right into our conversation this morning, and we want to start at recognizing that conversation through public health has made giant strides in conservation. And so we would like for you to speak to whoever might be watching and perhaps would like to take this path into conserving wildlife. What sort of journey should they prepare themselves for, and what are some of the ways they can participate?
It's an interesting question. I did ask the events manager to send them to me ahead of time, but I guess
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to see all of you here. I'm overwhelmed by all the great support. Thank you so much all for coming. A lot of you I've seen from, some of you knew me before I was born, like my mom. But it's wonderful to have you all here. You've been seeing me in different stages of my journey, and it's very exciting to have you all here to launch Walking with Gorillas. A journey of conservation. I would say that most people start off in conservation by going to the field.
Yeah.
I know some of my colleagues are here, the ED of UA, Mr. Sam Wanda. We started in the trenches, going in the field, which is so exciting, falling in love with nature. And actually studies have shown that people who spend more time in nature have better mental health.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to be ready to get your shoes dirty, get yourself dirty, and just enjoy being in the forest. Or in the savanna habitat. So that's one of the things you have to do to get ready to be in nature. Be ready for the unexpected. Yeah. And when you're working with wildlife, anything can happen. Yeah. And it's amazing studying the wild animals. Gorillas are generally very gentle animals, but once in a while they'll charge. And if they charge, what do you do? Can somebody tell me what you do for gorilla charges? Stay still.
Stay still.
Do you run? You have to stay still, because if you run, they'll run faster than you and you'll be in trouble. So some of those things happen, but it is very exciting. You have to expect the unexpected. As a woman, it's okay. I remember my husband telling me, what I like about you, when we were still dating, he said, you don't mind getting your hands dirty, your feet dirty, you're not so ladylike.
That was a plus.
So I think even for women, if that's what you want to do, don't worry what everyone else thinks about you. Put on trousers, go out there, and do whatever you feel you need to do.
All right. Now that you mentioned the trousers, as a woman working in a space that is male-dominated, what are some of the key learnings that you would share with the young girls who'd like to step in such spaces, get into such spaces?
I would say, when I first started in this field, I didn't really take a lot of trouble to notice that it's so male-dominated. I think what helped me is that I went to co-educational schools, and one of them in particular, King's College Budo, had many more boys than girls.
Yeah, true.
So I learned how to compete with boys from a young age. So I wasn't all that bothered about being in a male-dominated field, but I have to say veterinary medicine is male-dominated in Uganda. But where I did my vet school in the UK, it wasn't. Actually, 60% of us were women in the university and in my class, although it hadn't started out like that. And then when I started out in the wildlife veterinary field, there were hardly any women. And so that was an interesting experience. And actually, people used to ask me, are you taken seriously as a woman? And I used to say, yes, I am. I never really used to notice it. Yeah. And I guess maybe because I was bringing a unique skill to the table at the Uganda National Park, which became Uganda Wildlife Authority, being their first vet, everybody really respected me. I remember when one time my mom dropped me off and the rangers saluted to me, and my mom was like, hey, they're saluting to my daughter. But that's the hierarchy at Uganda Wildlife Authority. I would have to say, I started out with Lily. Actually, we were in the headquarters with Lily and a few other women, even Eunice. And at headquarters, there were a couple more women, but out in the field, the rangers were only men at the time. However, they were happy that they had a senior person coming with them to the field. And so the fact that I was a woman didn't bother them too much. In fact, they walked extra slowly so that I could keep up with them. They let me set the pace when we were going to the gorillas. They'll pull me up the hill, all of that, so that to make sure that I make it there. So, and they'll be very protective. Yeah. So I think I was lucky that I started out in a very nurturing environment. But, you know, later on, there could be times when you're discriminated against because you're a woman, and you go into a room full of men, you know that you have to speak louder to be heard. You have to show people that they have to take you seriously. Yeah. A lot of people say, if you take yourself seriously, the men will take you seriously. For sure. So that's something else that I found. Yeah. But I'd say to young women that don't get discouraged if you're in a room full of men and there's very few of you, or you're the only one. You know, take yourself seriously, and the men will take you seriously.
Wow. Good advice. Good advice. Okay, so your work has taken you around the world. You've traveled to different countries, perhaps where wildlife conservation is happening at a larger scale than Uganda. What are some of those countries for whom wildlife conservation fascinates you?
Where it's happening at a larger scale?
At a larger scale, yes.
I'd have to say that I got a lot of training in Kenya, neighboring Kenya. In Kenya, there's a long history of conservation. Yeah. Even the taxi driver who picks you up from the airport will tell you, oh, there's an orphanage, elephant orphanage, there's a giraffe center. So I'll have to say there's a very long history in conservation in Kenya. And that's where I got my first training. The Kenya Wildlife Service Vet Unit had been running for a number of years, and I went there for training. And I went there and learned how to move elephants, because we had to move elephants here in Uganda, from Mubende, where there were just 2 elephants remaining in a forest pocket. Believe it or not, elephants can migrate all the way from Queen Elizabeth National Park to Murchison Falls National Park to Kidepo. That's their migration route. But because of the building up in the area, we stopped their migration route, the roads, the infrastructure, and they were stuck in forest pockets. So Dr. Droma, the executive director who hired me of national parks and became Uganda Wildlife Authority, asked me, he said that now we have a vet, instead of killing them, let's move them. So I was asked to move those elephants, which is very daunting, because in vet school you learn about treating cats and dogs, horses, cows, but not big animals of 5 tons. And so Kenya was moving elephants from Mwea Reserve, where they had too many. It's a forest, I think it's a wildlife reserve, to Tsavo National Park, which is very, very large. And so I participated in that. Then we came to Uganda and moved the elephants here. I learned so much from the Kenya Wildlife Service vet unit. And so I would say Kenya is a country that is kind of ahead of us in that. But when it comes to great apes, Kenya does not have gorillas or chimpanzees. And so I did learn a lot from Rwanda. In Rwanda, the vet unit had been functioning, Mountain Gorilla Vet Project, since the late Dr. Diane Fossey. Before she was killed, sadly, she asked for veterinarians to come and treat gorillas. So I did go there to Rwanda, and that's where I got some of my first training, actually. Under Dr. Liz McPhee, Dr. Tony Mudakikwa, we participated in one intervention. Then the next one I was in Uganda, and no one else on my team knew what to do. And so we've been learning from all the different countries. But also in South Africa, I got to learn a lot. There are a number of vets there who mentored me and came over, like Dr. Roy Benjis, Dr. Kobas Rath, Dr. Pete Moko. A lot of those people have trained me. And in Kenya, Dr. Richard Koch really did a lot in building our vet unit here in Uganda.
All right. As a mother, yes. Our lives revolve around motherhood and parenthood. So before I ask the next question, I would like to invite your children, Dr. Gladys' children, Indigo and Tendo, to read an extract from your mom's book.
Can you bring the book up?
Hello everyone. My name is Tendo Zikusoka. I'm here to read an excerpt from my mom's book. My older brother Katerga was also an animal lover. Once he too returned from my Auntie Gladys's, he started bringing stray animals home. The first one I remembered as a child was a stray pygmy cat called Pili, who became my favorite. She was absolutely tiny and never grew beyond the size of a kitten. Unfortunately, the dogs often chased Pili and one day killed her. I was devastated by this loss. I'd grown up in a culture that believed that animals do not have souls, yet in spite of my culture programming, I disagreed that animals were non-sentient. Something deep inside me knew that they had as much soul as any human, and I mourned them in the same way. I was also able to recruit others to my cause, namely the children who lived next door, Flavia and Panga and her sister Susie, who became lifelong friends. They often reminded me of how I made them participate in my pets' funerals, where I would cry as I recited a prayer while we buried them in the ground with a cross. However, the defining moment for me arrived with our new neighbors, the Cuban ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Franco and his wife. They lived in the house opposite ours and became friends with my mother, often coming to visit her. Not long after moving in, they acquired a pet vervet monkey named Poncho, who liked to sit on our gate and stare down at me. I was fascinated by his fingers and fingernails that looked exactly like mine, so human. When I wasn't looking, Poncho would jump down into our compound and start pulling the cats and dogs' tails. Sometimes Poncho would steal bananas from the kitchen window. When you chase after him, he would jump over the gate and run back home. One day I was practicing the piano and I felt like I was not alone, and I realized that Poncho was watching me intently. through the window. Having begun to understand how playful and intelligent Poncho was, I decided to leave the room and left the door slightly ajar to see if he would try and imitate me. Sure enough, Poncho climbed onto the stool and played one note with one finger. I was so excited that I rushed into the room, and of course, Poncho ran away, back through the window to his home across the road. He was my first venture into studying primates. By the age of 12, I had decided to become a veterinarian. When any of our animals were sick, I would insist on missing classes to accompany my mother to the small animal clinic, a 10-minute drive away in Wandegea. I hated seeing animals suffer and was determined to dedicate my life to making them better.
Hello everyone. Hi. My name is Gladys Zikusoka. Finally, the day arrived when I stopped coughing and sneezing, and I was ready to trek the gorillas. I listened intently to the briefing by the rangers, concentrating on how to behave when with the gorillas. Habituation is a lengthy process to ensure the safety of gorillas and humans. A wild gorilla group is almost impossible to see because when you are within 100 meters of them in a thick forest, they slink back into the bushes. But just because the gorillas are habituated doesn't mean they don't need to be approached with great caution. The ranger, William Betunga, who would be taking me and a group of tourists into the forest, emphasized the need to stay still if a gorilla charged. Unnerving but essential advice. He also reminded us never to track the gorillas when sick, nor to get closer than 5 meters. Finally, he stated the importance of digging a hole 30 centimeters deep if you needed to defecate to protect the gorillas from contact with human fecal matter. We entered their first home of the Katendejere group, which had 8 gorillas. After walking for an hour, we came across their night nests. Gorillas build a new nest every evening to have a comfortable rest at night. We counted 7 nests that were woven with folded twigs and leaves. The ranger explained that only 7 gorillas in the group were old enough to build their own nest, ranging from juveniles, about 4 years old, to adults. I eagerly measured and scooped the fecal samples in separate plastic containers that I labeled according to the size of the lobe diameter before placing them in a Ziploc bag. I tucked the samples into my backpack while the tourists peppered me with questions. 2 hours into the trek, as we ventured deeper into the forest, up a fairly steep slope, the ranger told us that we were getting close and should get ready to leave our backpacks, which contained food with the porters, along with our walking sticks. The origin of this rule about the walking sticks is explained in Thor Hansen's book, The Impenetrable Forest. While habituating the Katendejere gorilla group, the country director of the Peace Corps volunteers came to Bwindi as part of the mock tourism trek to get gorillas used to visits by white people. On one occasion, the silverback grabbed a stick from one of the visitors and was about to beat him with it for daring to threaten him in his territory. My heart started beating faster as I knew we were close, and I eagerly gave my walking stick to the porters who had accompanied us. And then I saw him, Kachipira, an adult male silverback, my first encounter with a mountain gorilla. He was on his own that day, which was unusual. He was extremely calm, chewing on a piece of bark. He had a deformity on his hand, earning his name Kachipira, meaning broken hand. I was amazed at how close we were able to get to him, with a distance of 5 meters between us. Kachipira looked huge and unnervingly accommodating to our presence. I stared into his deep brown eyes. When he glanced back at me, I immediately felt a deep connection to one of our closest cousins with whom we share 98.4% genetic material. The hour went by far too quickly.
So I'll ask the question as the boys go settle down. Have they asked you what you do, what it means to the world, and how have you been able to approach this conversation? I was asking, I'm sure the boys must ask, what do you do, you know? And how does that affect the world that we live in today? And how have you been able to approach this conversation? How have you spoken to them about it?
I would say that the boys are living the experience, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
From a few months old, I was taking them to the national park. Much to some of my cousins were not happy about it. They said, leave Indigo with your mom and just go and do your thing. But my mom kept insisting. She said, you have to breastfeed your baby. And Indigo loved, the first time I took him to, it was Kabale for a meeting. He came back after the trip and his developmental milestones had gone far ahead of his age. Instead of leaving him at home in a cot, he loved everything. He loved seeing the yellow telephone boxes. He loved seeing everything. And then Tendo also went from the age of 2 months. I remember taking them when we started working with the communities, and they just grabbed him from me and babysat him the whole meeting. So I'd say Indigo actually recognized his first elephant when he saw it in Queen Elizabeth National Park. He said, elephant, not in a storybook.
Yeah.
So they've always been part of it. They've always been knowing, they've always been part of it. I haven't had to explain to them what I do. Yeah. I've always carried them with me. They've had to miss kindergarten class to be in the national park, but I think that was much more educational than sitting in a class. Yeah. I remember one time a bus going along the highway hit a hippo. And Tendo went to class and told his teacher and the children. And he was the hit of the day, because he had this story about the bus hitting the hippo, and the hippo died, because he overheard us talking about it.
Yeah.
The only thing that they hadn't seen yet was the gorillas, because you have to be 15 years old to see them. And finally, Indigo got to see the gorillas. I think he enjoyed it. He was just like, he could tell you. Yeah, that was a fascinating experience. Yeah. And also when there was an engine science show, which was trying to get children engaged in science, and particularly women. So girls, so they look for women role models. So in that particular show, Indigo went up with 2 children from Windy, 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl, Deus and Brianna. And that was really nice, and Tendo was too young to go, but he was leading the session in the laboratory. And then when we set up camera traps in the forest with the warden, Joseph, and actually there happened to be a pangolin that was caught in the community, because sometimes they catch them in DRC when people are trying to sell them, and they had to release the pangolin into the forest. So they were able to watch that. And I think they'll never forget that. Because Windy Forest is not only home to gorillas, as you protect that forest, there's also chimpanzees, elephants, pangolins, daika, bush pig, so many other species, and other monkeys. Yeah. So it was very interesting. And I would say that the boys, they've lived the life. Indigo actually wrote a book, Zookeeper for a Week, about his experiences when he worked at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. We really thank Dr. James Musinguzi for giving him that opportunity. And although he was quite young, they trusted him because he had been going there since he was a baby. Since he was very young. So they knew that he was familiar with the animals. And Tendo also wrote an article during the COVID pandemic about gorillas, and also recently, actually, when we were doing the book tour in the UK. So they've become part of, they will always be conservationists. I'm not sure if they're going to become vets or wildlife biologists, but I know that they will always be conservationists.
Wow, what a way to introduce your work to your children, to actually have them experience it. And I guess it's a challenge to the parents seated in the room, that don't just explain your work, take them along with you so that they can pick interest. I know there are a number of parents who say, I want my child to be a doctor, but they're not taking them along for them to gain the interest. And so it's wonderful what you did with your children.
I was very lucky that my mom let me do whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yes. When I told her I want to be a vet, I didn't tell her I want to be a vet. I just told her, she saw how much I loved animals. So when I told her I want to be a vet, she's like, of course, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
She said, when I leave this world, I don't want you to suffer because you're doing something you're not passionate about. Even if you don't earn much money as a vet in Uganda, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I followed my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to my mom.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you've famously been known to get high-profile people to pick keen interest in gorilla conservation, and also to come down to Bwindi and visit Bwindi. Are there any other high-profile people that you would want to see come visit Bwindi in your line of work?
That's a very interesting one. We recently hosted the American ambassador, Ambassador Natalie Brown, at Bwindi. I'm so glad that, and she enjoyed it. It was really great to have her be there when she first saw the gorillas. She was like, it would be wonderful to host the French ambassador as well to the gorillas. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but it would be wonderful to host you there. Definitely the diplomatic community would be great for them to come. The British High Commissioner came, but she didn't trek. She stopped at, because they had funded some of her work, and she had to visit other projects, but she said she would return. Prince William is the patron of Task Trust, and I've had the opportunity to meet him a few times. I remember the first time I got to speak to him, when they were celebrating, we sat on a high table. They selected some of the people they fund to sit on the table with Prince William. This was when they just had their daughter, I think, Charlotte. And I was able to talk to him at the end, and he said to me, gorillas at the top of my bucket list.
Wow.
And so when I met him again more recently, last year, actually one of the Ugandan, Dr. Achilles Berihanga, got the Prince William Award for conservation. We got to meet him, and I showed him the postcard about the book. He looked at it and said, oh, I'm so glad Jane Goodall's written the foreword. And he's like, yes, gorillas are on my bucket list.
Okay.
My husband and I went to Kensington Palace together with other grantees and had tea with him and Princess Kate and handed him some gorilla conservation coffee, and he mentioned it again. He actually asked Lawrence that what are the difference between gorillas in Rwanda or Uganda? Where should he go to trek? And we said, definitely Uganda. So hopefully one day he will come.
Yeah, all right.
What would you say has been, what would you say has been your fondest memory encountering with a mountain gorilla?
Well, I've had so many fond memories. I've really had very many fond memories. I would say maybe I can relate a story where there's a certain gorilla which got a rectal prolapse. Now I'm getting veterinary here. The rectum came out of the anus and it was getting rotten. And there was a big debate whether or not I should intervene, because some people thought we're promoting bad genes in an already endangered population. But we were not so sure. Maybe the gorilla picked up a human parasite, which made the gorilla strain to defecate. She was only a 6-year-old juvenile gorilla. So in the end, we decided, but the warden kept telling me, you have to intervene, because the tourists are also getting upset. He even sent a vehicle to pick me up. Wow. The warden, Chris Oriema. So then I went ahead and intervened, and this particular gorilla was called Kahara. and she was called Kahara which means a ladylike girl, because she liked babysitting her younger brother, Kanyonyi, who became the lead silverback of Mubare Gorilla Group. And so I intervened, operated on her, she recovered, and she went on, of course, to have more babies because she was a female. But it was so nice when a few days after the operation, she was able to go back and start playing with her little brother again. And that was a very fun moment. Gorillas have babies every 4.5 years to fit with the interbirth interval. They have babies every 4.5 years, much better than us at family planning, because by the time the older one is born, the younger one is born, the older one is independent, can build his own nest or her nest, and doesn't have to depend on mom, even emotionally, and can help to babysit the younger one. And that's really how it should be for humans, because even the chimps do the same thing. It's very logical. So I spaced our boys the same way, 4.5 years apart. We spaced them the same way.
Would have been surprised if you hadn't. All right. So in pursuit of our dreams, our careers, and for you as a conservationist, there are times when we are challenged with doubt, self-doubt. Was there ever a time in your journey where you were faced with doubt, and how did you stay focused in pursuing your journey?
I'd say maybe some of the most difficult moments were, when we started veterinary work in wildlife conservation, it was new. And some people would sometimes say, no, you're not supposed to move animals, you're not supposed to treat that animal, they should be left for natural selection. And I would say that I had a very supportive first supervisor, Captain Otekat, who's here today. When it was time to move the elephants, and some biologists were saying, you're going to move one problem from one place to another, he stood up at the Uganda Museum at an present Uganda Wildlife Society lecture and said, no, I think it's a good idea that we should move these elephants. And so sometimes I've had moments of doubt like that. And then we started conservation through public health. A lot of people were like, why are you integrating public health with conservation? And the reason we started it is because people made gorillas sick. The local community made the gorillas sick. They went outside people's gardens to eat their banana plants, came across dirty clothing, infected with scabies mites, and they got scabies. The baby gorilla died, sadly, but the others recovered with treatment of ivermectin. And so that's when we started realizing that we can't keep the gorillas healthy without improving the health of their human neighbors. And it was so difficult to raise money at the beginning. Everyone was like, you'd go to human health donors, they say, you're animal people. I would like to even mention a very big one, Bill and Melinda Gates. I was very ambitious, wrote them a proposal when I was in the US, and they were like, sorry, we can't fund your tuberculosis work as much as tuberculosis is one of our major priorities. And when I called them, they said, well, it's too veterinary. We really fund people. Then when I went to conservation donors, they said, we don't fund human health. And so we finally got donors like MacArthur Foundation and USAID, who realized, and the Irish Embassy, Irish Aid, Development Corporation Ireland, who realized the links between the two and started funding our work. So that really made a big difference. So those are the times we've had doubt. I even remember a certain donor who said, that's ridiculous, what you're saying. Wow. But then 3 years later, they gave us 3 years funding. Wow. The Darwin Initiative. And then they started making it a call for proposal. We're also funding projects that incorporating public health in conservation. So sometimes it's about advocating and educating the donors as well.
Okay. While interacting with animals, be it in the wild or in captivity, what would you say has been your saddest memory?
I would say that my saddest memory has been the times when we've lost animals. For example, in the Bwindi community, it's one of the communities that has benefited so much from conservation, because by the time it became a national park, conservation had changed from keeping people away from animals, wildlife, such as in Queen Elizabeth and Murchison and Kidepo, to engaging, those that began in the 50s, to engaging communities in conservation. So at Bwindi, most of the people employed by the park are from the local community, and some of them are hired as porters who carry your luggage to the gorillas when you're trekking. Some of them have crafts, accommodation. they can sell food, and they're really part and parcel of the tourism industry. And in our NGO, we're improving their health, and that is another reason why they're coexisting with gorillas, because we're showing that we care about their health, which is a basic human right. But the times I've been shocked is when, you hear, oh, a community member killed a gorilla. And sadly, this happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it happened because tourism disappeared overnight. And they were so used to tourists, and now they were hungry, and they had no other source of income because of lockdowns all over the world, and in Uganda as well. The local economy had also gone down. And so when we got that news, it was very, very shocking. And this particular gorilla was called Rafiki because he's friendly. He was called Rafiki, which means friendly in Swahili, as we all know. And so that shocked me, because I thought, all the support the Bwindi community has received, how can someone even dare kill a gorilla? But actually, when we went to check on Rafiki's group, the porter who carried my luggage, my backpack, had a mask saying in memory of Rafiki. Because now when you visit the gorillas, everyone has to wear masks. And he said to me that his community was very angry that this particular man had killed Rafiki. So he was given 11 years in jail, but of course we were concerned about the rest of the hungry people in the forest. So we started a program called Ready to Grow, where you give them fast-growing seedlings. And the poacher's wife who went to jail, his wife was the first beneficiary of the Ready to Grow. She had 3 children under the age of 3, only 22 years old. And in that way, a lot of them were saying we're poaching because we're hungry. We don't want to disrupt the gorillas. We know what the gorillas have done for us. Yeah. So.
All right. That must have been really heartbreaking.
Yes.
You wear quite a number of hats. You are a mom, you're a dedicated wife, and then you're doing amazing work in the conservation space, which we have known is also male-dominated. How are you able to juggle these hats? Stay focused as a wife, stay focused as a mom. We know that there's no such thing as work-life balance, but how are you able to create some semblance of sanity and balance?
I don't think I've created it.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah, someone actually once told me there's no such thing as work-life balance. Yeah. It's work-life blend.
Yes.
Because maybe what has helped me is I've been lucky to have a very supportive husband. So when I tell him I'm going to the parks and I'm going to be there for a few weeks, he doesn't mind because he knows the reason I'm staying there. And he even sometimes comes and stays there himself because he's a founder member of the NGO and the social enterprises. So we've been able to carry our sons with us wherever we go. Sometimes I've had to leave them with my mom when I travel abroad, and my grandmother-in-law, and different people. But I would say that have a very supportive team, or our team at Conservation Through Public Health, Gorilla Conservation Coffee. They're great. They can babysit the children in the car. They really they've become good friends of the children, which makes a big difference. And the Bwindi community are wonderful with children. We often tell tourists who have babies and want to go to the gorillas, don't worry, when you get to Bwindi, you can easily get a very reliable babysitter while you go to the gorillas. So I think it's a matter of engaging people, and sharing the load. We all share the burden and share the load. Yeah, but I wouldn't say that I've got the balance yet.
Figuring it out.
Still figuring it out.
Balance.
Although I have had a role model in my mom. She was amazing. When she was Deputy Minister for Culture and Community Development, she used to come and collect me at the airport when I studied abroad. All of us, me, my sister, my brothers, anytime. She would stop her work and be there at the airport to meet us. So I remember one of my late brother Peter said, why should the work of Uganda stop just because Mama's going to collect Gladys from the airport?
She did a commendable job.
That's a good one, just striking a balance. But now that you mentioned about, the strong community, let's speak success. Some people look at success as community. Some people, it's the money that you're making. Others, it's their career. What would you describe as success to you?
I would say success is following your dream and having passion for what you do. It's not necessarily the money. I know people who have told me, I've been working in an industry that makes a lot of money. But now I want to give back. For example, one of our donors, Wildlife Conservation Network, Charlie Noel, was a tech entrepreneur. He made so much money in Silicon Valley. But after some time, he said, I want to do something useful, more fulfilling. And so he founded the Wildlife Conservation Network, which connects wealthy individuals in California and other states to people like us and help to build up our individual donor base. So it's not only about the money. It's really about the passion, the drive, and what you want to achieve. I remember some of my friends here, like Nampera Mariam in Total, we were in Chivuli, and she says, you always liked animals. No one has forgotten that. Flavia and all my friends who knew me from when I was young. And I think it's all about having the passion, because at the end of the day, that's what keeps you going. That's what really keeps you going. I've been inspired by Dr. Jane Goodall. She really was out there with the chimpanzees. Dr. Birite Gaudikas, who was mentioned by the French ambassador, she wrote in the book that I bought when I went to her talk in London, follow your dreams and the rest will follow. And that's what I advise all young women out there. Don't worry about, am I going to get married? It's after university, just do what you want to do, and you follow your dream and the rest will follow. I've been lucky to also have a very supportive board, and I'm glad Beatrice is here today. It's really important to have a supportive board, and that also helps a lot.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gladys, for having this conversation with us. I think even without receiving the questions prior, you did fantastic. You did very well. It's been lovely hearing from you, your thoughts on your journey, and we really celebrate you. We join with the rest of your community that is here today to say congratulations on your book. From the Bump Love team as well, would like to say we are inspired because of the big things that you're doing, and thank you for having us have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing, and we look forward to your book as well.
Yes. Yes. Over to you, Raymond.
Thank you so very much for that very enlightening conversation. I want to just very quickly invite Dr. Sam Wanda, who leads the team at Uganda Wildlife Authority. If you'll come and speak to us for just a few minutes, and then we can continue with our program. Oh, there he is. Maybe as he comes, I could riddle you with another story so that you can buy the book again and read it. In the early days of Dr. Gladys's work, then I think it was called the National Parks. They had to go to Kenya, and I think that the team had just a small Suzuki which couldn't make the journey. And again, Mama Rhoda's Pajero had to be commandeered to do national work. So I am collecting 2 dates today on behalf of Mama Rhoda. But Sam, please, if you could come and speak to us very briefly. A round of applause for him as he comes to the front.
Still good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, the ambassadors from the US and France, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kalema and family, it's a pleasure to be here as we launch this book. I joined Uganda National Parks in 1994. Mzee Takat is laughing at me because he was much older and earlier than myself. When Gladys came in 1996, I had traveled to study. Came back early 97, but was stuck in Mount Elgon National Park. because there is not a lot of wildlife there, I missed the opportunity of meeting Gladys until the year 2000. The year 2000 was special because I got transferred from Mbale to Kampala and was able to meet Gladys at that time. I want to congratulate her on writing this book. I believe, as UTB CEO explained, it is a marketing tool for us, for our national parks and the wildlife that we hold in Uganda. I think the earliest I remember Gladys being engrossed in issues of veterinary medicine was when the gorillas in Nkuringo had what I call a skin rash. She calls it scabies. And that reminds me that our health is a lot intertwined with the wildlife that we have, with the livestock, but also the general environment. And so for us as Uganda Wildlife Authority, when we are looking at the wildlife, we're also looking at the habitat, but also working to engage the communities that live next to these parks to ensure that the health of the humans, the livestock, the wildlife, and the general environment is well taken care of. Because if we don't, COVID-19 will teach us a lesson if it comes back. So it is important for us to obviously work with Gladys, with the program of CTPH that she explained here very well. And we're excited that there is a book that talks about her life, but not only her life, about the wildlife, about communities, about development, and about the sacrifices we each have to make to ensure that our lives and our environments are better. So, we want to encourage you to buy the book and read it. The MC was reminding us it's not just about getting the book, but we must read it, because it needs stories that we could relate to, but they could be a lesson or two that we will learn. Gladys, I was just thinking as I was being told I needed to say something, that I should also write a book. Because I joined Uganda National Parks in 1994. When it became Uganda Wildlife Authority in 1996, I continued with it. In 2010, through a very interesting life story, I left. And then I came back in 2018. Just talking about wildlife, there is a lot there. But I could speak about family. I could speak about my faith. I could speak a lot of things. So I am going to come and consult you. I hope you won't charge me highly, so that I can have something up for myself as well. My prayer to all of you is that as you take this book, as you read it, it inspires you. Inspires you to do more than you have just done. Whether you are as old as my elder Captain Otekat, or as you are as young as myself, it is important that we read and we get inspired and we go and work on those things that we thought we couldn't. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for speaking WhatsApp, and thank you for committing to writing a book. I guess that we should book the same hall, same venue, next year, same time, and return. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a very short musical interlude, and after the musical interlude, we'll have a chance to hear from our guest of honor for today, and also we'll have a chance for our books to be signed by our author today. So if you haven't yet bought a copy, I just want to remind you the copies are right at the back there and they're selling already. So please go and buy a copy and get ready for the author signing. So I want to invite the musical group, Team Gorilla, please. The floor is now yours.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Thank you very much. Let's go. Greetings, people. How are you today? Greetings, people. How are you today? All right. I like the energy. Dr. Gladys, thank you for writing such a lovely book. I'm here because of you, because you asked me to make a song about gorillas. So we're going to rock it for you guys. Walking with gorillas. Team Gorilla is our squad right here. Yeah, it's okay. They can leave that. Make sure they're on. You know, it's interesting how we have a beautiful black woman, African woman, taking care of the primates that matter so much to the world. They're only in Uganda and Rwanda. We know that. You know, so we got to protect them. And we got to make sure they grow just like we do. You know? Yeah. Right now, just my man's hooking up the guitar. But anyways, I go by the name of Gasuza. I wrote this song when Dr. Gladys asked me to make something, some kind of tune to promote gorilla conservation. So this is kind of what we made. Genius, you ready? There we go. So just a few, I can keep talking because I like to talk anyways. So the song is called Team Gorilla, and it's just talking about everybody being able to help out. You know, even if you give a little bit, you know, just help out and let the world know about our beautiful primates. We good to go, my brother? All right, start it off, set it off. Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla. Listen, they just like us. If you have a heart, you can help. They got the same DNA. Yeah, ha, let's work, come on. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. Listen, they face extinction, their habitat is shrinking. Have a heart, a little conviction. I see odor poaching on the land you're encroaching. Have a heart. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorilla, we've got to protect him. Rafiki was a friend, so why did you kill him? Why did you spare him? A boss, a silverback. Rest in peace, Raf. Listen, the killing has to cease. They got hands like you, feet like you. They just like saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. You see, Team Gorilla, yeah, hey na na na, hey na na na, hey na na na, hey na na na. I said saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we've got to protect them. Saving one gorilla can make a difference. It's our mountain gorillas, we got to protect them. Listen, gorillas are naturally herbivores, they're tame, but the silverback will protect its truth if tested. So let's go. Beating on your chest like a silverback. Oh, let's go all together. Come on, come on. Beating on your chest like a silverback. Come on, come on, come on. One more time. Beating on your chest like a silverback. Na na, hey. Hey, na, 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 hey, hey, na, 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 yeah, yeah, beat it on your chest. Let's go. Hey, na, 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 hey, na, na, na. Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, Team Gorilla, yes, Team Gorilla. Yeah. Gorilla, beating on my chest like a silverback. Yeah, I know you like that, Dr. Gladys. Thank you. We want to thank everybody that came. We had a chance to shoot this video with the UWA, gave us a pass to do it, but it was during COVID, so we couldn't. But to promote more of gorilla conservation, we're looking for someone to cover the funds to make this video with the gorillas. Thank you very much. I go by the name of Gasuza. That's Lawrence. That's the genius. We're Team Gorilla. Bless.
Thank you so much to Team Gorilla. In case you're recruiting, I'm a great saxophonist. Dr. Gladys is a great pianist, so we can add to the band. And maybe I can also help with the fundraising. It's my singular pleasure now to invite our guest of honor today. It's Natalie Brown, who is the ambassador of the United States to Uganda, to speak to us. So a round of applause for her. She makes her way to the front.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Gladys, Lawrence, Indigo, Tendo, your lovely mother, representatives from the government, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, National Wildlife Authority, Tourism Board, representatives of the private sector, civil society organizations. It is really my honor to be with you today on this special occasion celebrating the fascinating and important memoir written by my friend, Dr. Gladys Kalema. Today's event is particularly meaningful for me because it combines two of my favorite things, reading and wildlife conservation. And let me first just talk a little bit about conservation. Most of us are familiar, and we've heard it repeated many times, about the pivotal role Dr. Gladys Kalema plays in Uganda's conservation story, and her own inspiring story of turning a passion for wildlife into an amazing career. Beyond being Uganda's first ever wildlife veterinarian, she's one of the world's foremost experts on mountain gorillas and human-wildlife interaction. And because of her expertise in this area, her memoir, and I don't know where you found the time to write it with all that you do, her memoir is a riveting read, provides us with a wealth of critical and timely information that affects not only the mountain gorillas, but also human beings, in Uganda and beyond. Through her years of experience, Dr. Gladys helps us clearly see how landscapes, changes, and biodiversity loss brings humans and wildlife into contact at increasing rates. And while this contact can be great for tourism, and it can be a catalyst for conservation in its own way, it also comes with a new reality that we need to understand. This includes a better understanding of the complex relationship between wildlife and humans in matters of health. With recent public health outbreaks and pandemics in Uganda and worldwide, understanding this relationship is more important than ever. Both animals and humans are at risk for emerging infectious diseases, both those they get independently and ones that they can transmit to each other. And Dr. Gladys in her book tells about her own experience with COVID and, in fact, gorillas around the world in captivity who came down with COVID. And these are some of the reasons why the United States government provides resources to prevent, detect, and respond to outbreaks in Uganda, including through the Field Epidemiology Training Program, or FETP, with public health disease detectives conducting timely investigations on disease outbreaks stemming from human-wildlife interaction throughout the country. And there also are investments like in Ugandan laboratories, like the Biosafety Level 2 laboratory in Queen Elizabeth National Park, which we upgraded in 2021 to enhance the Uganda Wildlife Authority's detection and surveillance abilities, which means better and earlier detection of and faster responses to disease outbreaks in Uganda, including zoonotic diseases. These outbreaks and the increasing number of human-wildlife interactions that can lead to them are closely linked to our changing planet. The Earth is changing due to shifts in populations and economies, as well as climate change, all resulting in biodiversity loss. And in the face of these changes, conservation education is more critical than ever. And this is also why the United States government continues to invest in programming to combat illegal wildlife poaching and trafficking, to prevent destruction and deforestation of protected areas, and to strengthen systems for conservation and natural resource management. By assisting communities, the government of Uganda, and the private sector to conserve and manage biodiversity, the United States government wants to ensure lasting environmental and economic sustainability for generations to come. Alongside substantial investments in health security, our support for wildlife conservation preserves and protects animals, plants, and their habitats. And these efforts not only bolster Uganda's economy, but also ensure that future generations around the world can enjoy the beauty of the natural world and the incredible species that live within it. And I should note that we've been active in this area for some time. The Bwindi Trust, developed and supported by the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, was conceived in 1991 to ensure the long-term conservation of the protected area and the mountain gorillas that reside within. The contributions that gorilla tourism makes to individual livelihoods and development, for example, through income gained from gorilla trekking activities in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park, generate important revenue for the surrounding communities and further conservation. And now let me just turn a little bit on my love for reading, which fuels a passion that I have for literacy and education, something I've tried to emphasize during my time here as the U.S. Ambassador. Although Dr. Gladys's book, her memoir, is not a children's book, I see it nevertheless as being an excellent resource for Ugandans of all ages, including young people. And I think this builds on Indigo's own book about being a zookeeper for a day, which actually inspired me to have that same experience. So thank you for that. I think we're just now waiting for Tendo to write a book, joining the family of authors. Our young people need heroes and mentors, and Dr. Gladys's life story provides an inspirational example of how far a person can go through hard work and the power of learning. Dr. Gladys has accomplished so many of her own goals, thanks in large part to educational opportunities and cultivating her strong interest in reading and learning. And we know that there are many potential Dr. Gladyses in Ugandan schools today, but they need help to realize this potential. And this is why the U.S. government continues to invest in early grade reading in Uganda and preventing school-related gender-based violence and in strengthening child protection services. We partner with Ugandan schools, families, and communities in 79 districts to make sure that children and youth living in vulnerable conditions have access to education, health and social services, and other forms of support they need to become the person they were meant to be or the person they want to be. And we remain in ongoing dialogue with our Government of Uganda counterparts to encourage increased public funding for education, particularly at the primary level. Working together, we hope to see more children reading at grade level and more primary students making it to secondary school than we do today. And this is so especially important for young girls because we know how many we lost from education during the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that, let me return to where I started and express my gratitude again to Dr. Gladys for her groundbreaking work in conservation and all that she has done to spread the knowledge accumulated over her decades of service and study. I also want to commend you, Gladys, for being so open and sharing with readers some of your struggles along the way. For example, when exam results were not what you expected, and then certainly how you rebounded from that. These lessons on overcoming adversity are critically important for young people, and especially for young women who still are not given the opportunities to fail and restart that are afforded to men. I also have to appreciate your camaraderie and generosity, which manifest in so many ways. In her book, Dr. Gladys recounts her early experiences working with the Peace Corps volunteers and with USAID, and I am so very pleased that that partnership with the U.S. mission and the U.S. government continues today. In fact, I first met Dr. Gladys when she served as a judge for our Zoo Hackathon event. It was a competition that challenges young people to use technology to address conservation challenges. And as you heard from her, one of my most memorable experiences was early this year when she led me on a gorilla trekking experience. Your memoir describes the excitement that you felt the first time you encountered a gorilla troop. I had the same experience with you, and it was also very special to see you relive that experience, the excitement and joy that you bring to work every day. Even when the silverback charged us, it plays back in my memory. So thank you for giving me that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to share this experience with you. It's my honor. I congratulate you. I congratulate your family, Lawrence, your children, and of course your mother. The relationship that you described with your mother, that also resonates deeply with me. I would not be standing here before you had my mother not encouraged a childhood dream that I had. You know, you mentioned in your book the monkey and how that sparked your interest in animals. I was about the same age when my family took a trip to the United Nations, and there was something about being in that building that I said, how do you do this? And my parents found a way to make it possible for me. So I know all of your successes are successes that you share in your family, and I wish you continued success in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so very much for those remarks that you've made. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me to clap for the team at CTPH. And to do this, I am going to actually ask, I read them out name by name so that you can clap for them because it's the team that works behind Dr. Gladys. So I'll start with Mrs. Kaniwabo Elizabeth, if you could stand up and wave. She's at the back right there. Mr. Chito Emmanuel. Mr. Chito Emmanuel is in the background there, but we want to clap for you. Thank you so much. Mr. Godfrey Kakande is also at the back right there. Mr. Richard Bajenyi, right here with the books. Mrs. Lillian Nandudu, who should also be somewhere at the back. Right there, yes. Ms. Kasim Namuyere. Mr. Kasim Namuyere, thank you so much. Mr. Stephen Rubanga. We have Mr. Kamu Bukenya, right there at the back. Oscar Nwanyamba. Thank you so much, Oscar. Leila Naiga. Thank you so much. Jessica Benacho, right there at the back. Thank you so much. Dr. Marco Court. Thank you so much, Jacinta Namubiru, and very finally, Edward Sekandi. Mr. Edward Sekandi will speak after this about your connection to our former Vice President. But that is the team that's behind Dr. Gladys that makes sure this work gets done. And I also want you to indulge me to allow for our mother to give her brief remarks. So Mama Rhoda Kalema, from where you are, if you could please speak to us about this book launch today. Thank you.
Wow. I would like to be as quick as possible because we've been here for a long time. I'm overwhelmed. First of all, I must say I'm overwhelmed by the presence of so many of you here to honor the launch of Gladys's book. I first want to thank Her Excellency, the Ambassador of America, Madam Natalie Brown, for all those supporting Gladys, for loving the animals in the way she does, being too windy, and now for this wonderful speech you've given. I want to thank all those who have made it so possible for this launch here. Because last month, the first launch was made in the museum. But this, I didn't expect another one to be this wonderful, with so many of the very responsible people to be here. I want to thank everybody who have been able to come. I apologize for being late. The main story I would like to share with you about Gladys' loving animals was her love. When did her love for animals start? She has mentioned me. She has mentioned her brother who brought cats home. But there's one particular incident where her brother, Apollo, brought 2 stray cats at home from Entebbe, was it? And she immediately named them Fanta and Pepsi Cola. Fanta and Pepsi. After naming them, in fact, it seemed that one was a female and another male. And very soon they had a family of 2 kittens. When they had the kittens, like any mother, any mother, even an animal mother, he wanted to keep her. She wanted to keep her babies safe. Gladys soon found out. She would go and coax them and hold them up and put them back in the absence of the cat. When mother cat came, she could easily notice that someone had tampered with her babies. And she would move the babies away from the place where she has hid them outside behind a cupboard or on the bed, and put them somewhere else. And Gladys, as soon as she found out there, she would go again, hold them up, put them back. But mother cat would again discover that someone has tampered with her babies. And she'll move the babies out in another place, in a study behind a cupboard, to see that no one harms her babies. But Gladys and the mother cat perhaps equally loved the kittens. Yet she didn't, the mother kitten didn't realize that it was also Gladys was taking care of the milk on her dish all the time to see that there's enough milk, enough food in the dish of the mother cat. We thought it was quite a game. Now, when it turned out to be what it has turned out, as her story goes in the book, then we realized this love for the cat started very, very early, and I didn't know. So I've been thinking about, oh, that is how it started with the kittens, which she would go home, put them back, and then she would be so satisfied. And also, we had also another dog, and the dog was what? The one which was, we had a dog, and the dog got sick. Titina got sick. When I came home at lunchtime, she told me Titina was very sick. And I think she talks about Titina in the book. So I said to her, okay, we'll take Titina to the animal clinic. Fortunately, we are living in Nakasero, very close to the animal clinic. Some of you may know, I don't know whether it is still there, where the animal clinic is still there in Buganda Road, behind the Ministry of Public Service. But she said that not would be too late. She fell on the ground, the grass, and said, oh no, Mama, that will be too late. Titina will die. So immediately we had a very quick lunch. I had no alternative but to take Titina to the animal clinic at about 2 o'clock so that Titina gets our attention. We left Titina there. She was satisfied because she knew Titina would be treated. But the way she fell on the grass, believing that if I were to delay, Titina would die. So that was another instance to show how early Gladys started to love the animal. That's what I want to share with you. Unfortunately, when we came back in the evening, about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, to go to the animal clinic, Titina had passed away. But at any rate, she knew I had not neglected the health of Titina. And on and on and on, as you see in the book, she continued to love the book. And she started, the other thing which surprised me, when she was at Kibuli for her A-levels, she resurrected the wildlife club there, which had gone, I think they had it and it didn't, it stopped for some time. She resurrected it, and she raised, with the teacher who was also interested, and they raised a group of the students. They went to Kasese by train. That's when the train was still working. In the 80s, 1990, there was a train going to Kasese. And they went to Kasese to see the animals. That was in her S6, which means the interest was still growing, was still there. So it was no surprise that in the end she joined the veterinary course at university. That is in short, that's the story I can tell you about this little girl. who may I just say one more? When she was born, Gladys had lactose intolerance. She had lactose intolerance at Mulago, and after 2 days, she was passing out all her milk, and she was getting thinner and thinner. Fortunately, there was one of the nurses who had further training at Great Ormond Hospital in London. Some you may know, I know it is still there as the Children's Hospital, Great Ormond Street Hospital. She advised the doctor, Mrs. Robina Ndugwa, was actually the wife of late Christopher, Dr. Ndugwa. And she advised later she was married to him, she advised the doctor that this could be lactose intolerance. They took a test of her stool, and it seemed to be that. So we were advised to order soy milk from Nairobi, which is from soybean, and Gladys grew on soybean milk up to the age of 1.5 years or 2. So she survived the lactose intolerance when she was a real baby, just to come up and be the person who can face animals and walking with the gorillas. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Mama Rhoda. Before you came, I had appointed myself the collector because that Chibuli Wildlife Club owes us money for wildlife stickers that they bought. But also Mama Rhoda has a book, in case you're in the room. It's called My Life Is But a Weaving, and it's available in the bookshop, so you can go and pick up a copy of it and read it. It's also here as well. Okay, I've been advised that it's here as well, so you can pick up a copy of that and read it. And now I want to invite Dr. Gladys Zikusoka and Mr. Lawrence Zikusoka to the front, and your family, and also invite Natalie for the unveiling of this book that has been written. Dr. Gladys, you'll have enough time to sign books after here. We'll put aside a seat for you, and everyone that's bought a book will have a chance to have it signed. So give them a round of applause as they come to the front. All right. So we're going to participate in this launch. There's a small countdown that I prepared. So we'll clap at every number as we count down until we are unveiled for the book. It's just 5 claps, please. So bear with us. So the team, please, that's putting up our countdown, if you can put that up on the screens. Wait, please, wait. Stay still. All right, we'll start from 5, so we'll clap at every number until we get to 1, and we'll have a chance to unveil our book today. So I guess we'll start from 5, if you could take the video back to the start. All right, so we go for 3, 2, 1, and 0. Please unveil for us a copy of the book so that we see what it looks like. All right. So I will ask the family to stay up with Ambassador, so we take the first picture, and this picture will go into the archives forever. So the official cameraman is the one in the middle with a brown jacket. Yes. And then I will ask our sponsors for today to please make their way to the front. Ashoka, Volcano Safaris, Total, Stanbic Bank, please come, and we have this photo taken too. Mr. Sam Wonder, please, if you'd come and join our picture. And I want to ask Prince Daudi Chintuwasaja if you could please indulge us and join our picture too. And then I want to ask the team from CPTH, please come, because you're the last people that will make this a very big group picture. The team from Conservation Through Public Health, please run as fast as your legs can. All right, thank you so much. That's all for the pictures. I now want you to allow Dr. Gladys to sit down and sign as many copies as has been bought today. So we'll all go to her where she's seated and have copies of our books signed. And I'm happy to also invite you. We still have breakfast at the back of the room, so please pick up some breakfast. As do we have copies of the book at the back, so please pick up the copies of the book too. Sabine advised Dr. Gladys will sit at the front, so please, you all come to the front. Let's just be as orderly as we can, make one line and have our books signed. Thank you so much.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
We believe in our people. We believe in their health, their wealth, their dreams, their businesses, and their future. This is why we believe in sustainability and through the pillars of social impact, the economy, financial inclusion, a greener future, youth centricity, diversity, and women. We intend to make progress and impact lives positively at all levels. Through our business incubator, SACCO initiative, Stanbic graduate program, participation in Taso Butonde and running out of trees, Stanbic for Her, and National Schools Championship, we as Stanbic Uganda remain committed to the growth and development of all. We believe in Uganda.